think one of the main barriers for women progressing in their careers is women not having the confidence to really fight for promotions, pay increases.
If you present the same CV to a man and a woman, to a male or a female candidate, if a man can only do 10% of that task, he would still apply for the job. The opposite is true of female candidates who will only apply if they can do 90%.
It happens in a lot of places, but it certainly happens in engineering, that the person that talks loudest and longest is seen as the expert. That is often that alpha male stereotype, the beating of the chest, and that's got to change. I've certainly seen instances where women are ignored for what they say until a man speaks up as well, and then it's almost validated because the man has said it. You can see the frustration in women that they're trying to get an idea across, but people brush it aside.
I've come across loads of young women who have entered the industry and find it really hard to fight the good fight of this is what I deserve. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's history or just our culture, but it's seen as like almost a taboo when women talk about like money and wanting to be economically stable and financially free.
It is up to women to take ownership for empowering themselves, to be really clear-minded about, right, this is what I want to get out of my career and this is what I want to get out of my personal life. However, we coexist in society. Men and women coexist in the same society, and the onus of change shouldn't be on the people the change is for.
Everyone has an unconscious bias. It's really being aware of the unconscious biases that you have, that you bring into your decision making, and then challenging yourselves to not take that shortcut and to really think through from a fair and equal perspective the decisions that you're making. It can be really insidious, it can be really silent. It happens during recruitment, it happens during kind of career progression.
Not my current job, my previous job. I was in the office and I had an office with my manager. I had a visitor. He was collaborating with my department on a project, and he came and he said, "Can I speak to a man?" And I said, "There are no men here. You can wait a while till we hire one, or I can help you." And he actually thought about it for 2 minutes, and he was so reluctant to speak with me.
Throughout my career, I've worked in engineering in a male-dominated industry. People have always assumed that I'm there to make the tea or there to take the notes. I've had clients refer to me as young lady when I've been trying to talk to them about a business issue or a project issue.
I have found that I am put in a box quite often. "Oh, you must be good at maths." That's one I've heard time and time again. Or, "Oh, there must be a lot of pressure for you to get married." And actually, that's not really been the case at all. You wouldn't want me to do your accounts. And I mean, I've got very different views about marriage and family that may actually surprise people or may not surprise people. But in the workplace, in the professional environment, I have found that I have found my own career progression really hard as a woman of color compared to my counterparts. And I'll be honest, I'm still figuring out why that is. One of the biggest barriers is being stereotyped and having that perception and expectation put on you that you are going to be the childbearer, the caregiver. Subconsciously, maybe your employer is thinking, you're going to go off on maternity leave in a couple of years. So do I want to give you the promotion? Are you able to handle that big role?
We're very focused on trying to take away the gender role models from parental leave, maternity leave, shared parental leave, which is why we don't use any of those terms. We call it family leave. The minute we find out, somebody in my team goes and talks to the father and says, "You do know that you're entitled to 6 months leave, 26 weeks, full pay, you should be taking advantage of this, etc., etc." And very often the reason that they don't is that they say, "Oh my God, but what's going to be the impact on my career? And it always makes me smile because I think, well, do you not think that women have been dealing with their entire lives? You have a bit of a light bulb moment and that they then go, oh yes, I get it.
I would say it doesn't necessarily hold women back, the fact that they've had children. I think it is the expectation that's attached to it and the expectation that they are the caregivers. Also, if employers and organizations buy into that expectation and into that stereotyping, that's where a really big issue lies.
There's not a lot of options when you're in school about career paths that you can go down, and you're kind of steered into the very stereotypical lane of the role that you should go down.
I think it's important to create gender neutrality in terms of professions. So nursing shouldn't be viewed as a female-only profession. Firefighting shouldn't be a male-only profession. We need to create more visibility of the other gender. We could do that at school level.
Once you've taken your GCSE options, you're really locking yourself in. And it's way too early in this country that you lock yourself into that path. But once you've done it, it's too late. There's a huge amount of opportunity in engineering, but we've shut that down for 50% of our talent in this country by not engaging women early enough in that.
My company have actually done a piece of research looking at the environment within engineering for women. 12% of engineers in the UK are female and 16% of engineering graduates in the UK are female. So it's gradually changing, but a really shocking statistic is that 57% of female engineers drop off the register of professional engineers by the time they're 45. That compares to just 17% of men. So that's a huge number of people that have worked hard, they've gone to university, they've become professionally qualified, and then they decide the workplace culture isn't for them and they can't progress their career. 57% of women.
I think it is an interesting consideration whether we should have targets. And I have actually thought about it because I have stepped into places where I know I am there because I tick 3 boxes. I tick 2 of the boxes that the organization or that setting is really interested in. I think that's rather insulting.
I would like to see us get to that position where we don't need targets. Businesses should be recruiting the best talent, regardless of gender. And they want the people with the right experience, they want the people with the right knowledge, and that will make the right contribution. There's very much 2 facets to EDI. It's treated as a key metric in a lot of engineering companies, but different leaders take that in different ways. One take it very much as that target orientated and target driven. We must have this number of women in the department because that shows we're doing the right thing. That doesn't mean women are equally respected and equally treated in their careers, and that's not helping gender diversity. But there are some people out there very, very good at and very focused on getting the best talent and making sure that women are equally treated and equally recognised because they are adding the most value. Those are the people, the managers that we need, because they are promoting gender diversity for the right reasons, recruiting talent.
They have to be really sure and communicate it to me that I am there because I have something to offer, not because of my traits, something I was born with. It tells me that the organization is interested in championing somebody like me.
That the focus on gender equality is the longest journey in this space. The first piece of legislation that relates to discrimination is the Equal Pay Act of 1970. So we've been talking about this for a very long time. I still think that there is a huge amount of work to do. So we still see that women are underrepresented in senior leadership positions. They are underrepresented in FTSE 100 boards. They are underrepresented in academia. I think great progress, still more to do.
A lot of organisations still don't know the difference between equality and equity. Companies need to understand that just giving somebody a job doesn't mean that you're giving someone equity. When they're in that role, you also need to give them the tools that they need to be able to aspire and progress to whatever stage they need to get to.
Equity is about recognising that everyone is starting from a different place, that everyone's journey, everyone's lived experience is completely unique to them. So realising that actually equity is about ensuring that we're all at the same position on the starting line, and that I think is actually more important than just saying we're treating everybody the same.
We are not quite there yet. I think we are not there where everybody understands what equity is, and it's not quite widely understood yet. And that's because we haven't quite achieved inclusion fully.
If you don't create a space for your people to tell their story, they're never going to feel that they truly belong, because the safe space is to allow people to tell that story and for you to learn from it.
If you're able to get a lot of people who have a kind of shared characteristics or a shared problem at work into a space that they can feel safe and voice their opinions, you're able to get to the problem quicker.
Organisations, to be successful, need to do three things. They need to engage, they need to listen, and they need to act. And very often what happens is that organisations will do one of those three things, or they might even do two of them, but they don't do all three of them. So they'll take action based on no feedback or no data whatsoever. They will engage with the workforce, but they won't listen to it, or they will engage and they will listen to it, but they won't take any action. It's the three things together. The people who understand how the policy of an organisation is affecting them and impacting them and their day-to-day lived experience are your employees. I don't understand why people don't ask, why aren't you asking your organisation? I am immensely proud that the Financial Services Compensation Scheme is recognised as the UK's fourth most inclusive employer in the top 50 employers, and we are also recognised as a Times top 50 employer for women. That doesn't happen by chance, that absolutely happens by design. And so firstly, I think it's really important that organisations set themselves targets and measure themselves against those targets. Change, cultural change, organisational change does not happen by osmosis. In my experience, lots of organisations will have lots of very lovely commitments in terms of words. It doesn't just happen by you saying, I'd like this to happen.
Beginning of my career, there were no women in my cohort. Women in engineering departments were only admin. That was the only roles they ever held. They were never technical, and that was heartbreaking. My wife is a very senior engineer. She's head of engineering in her company, and she's very good at bringing women into her department and ensuring that they are listened to and ensuring that they are able to contribute. But it is that role model, and it's inspiring younger women to achieve what she has achieved. And that's more needed, more essential, I think, in many more workplaces.
I would say, as a woman, it's been really important for me to have good female role models. And I've been very fortunate to have not just female role models in my life, but also male role models. For example, I'm very fortunate to work with a director who's championed me as a person, as a female employee, and has given me encouragement to be confident in how I approach my projects. He's thrown me in the deep end and then walked past my desk half a day later and said, I did that on purpose and I do it really, but I think you really needed to learn from that. And for me, that sort of experience and somebody's confidence in me has been really important.
If anything, I would say that mentoring was the one thing that helped me propel my career. I got my first mentor maybe like 3 years ago. My mentor, Sarah, she's amazing. She inspired me to want to mentor young women, and it feels really fulfilling because at the end of the day, none of this would have been possible if the women before me didn't help me. So I think it's my duty to kind of pass that on to young women coming up.
Increasingly, you see leaders these days taking on sort of a coaching approach in the way that they do leadership. And that is because it is better at creating inclusive environments.
There is a distinction between management and leadership, and that leadership is about inspiring and setting the expectations for how the department operates, and setting those expectations that diversity will be treated seriously. People are valued on their contribution, regardless of gender.
When I think about my role as a manager, I always look at my team members as a pool of talent, and I always try to identify them by what each of them bring to the team rather than going to their gender or going to their heritage as my point of reference. In my recruitment practice, I have deliberately hired colleagues from protected characteristics when two candidates presented a very similar skill set, and then I did make a deliberate choice to give the job to somebody who was actually from a unique background. And that's served me well in the sense of those colleagues bringing their lived experience as well, a very different perspective to the role.
It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. If your intent is, I want to learn and I want to understand, and that is your starting point, then I think that's absolutely fine. Sometimes you will get it wrong. It's really managers understanding you are the gateway to both people joining the organisation, so ensuring that we have got a diverse population, but also that if you've got a diverse team, which is a strength, and we hope that all teams are diverse in the organisation, then we need to make sure that you're able to unlock the potential of each and every individual in that team, and you only do that through development.
Gender equality has a marked, profound impact on the organization's productivity, how well an organization utilizes its talent, and the kind of talent actually it brings into the organization.
Teams that have greater proportion of women create better financial results, greater innovation, higher collective intelligence within teams.
Having more perspectives, having people from different cultural backgrounds, diversity of thought, it creates better working environments, it creates better cultures, and in the end you make better work for it.
It's a journey. It doesn't stop. It's not like saying, okay, well, I've been sent on this module and I've done 4 modules in ED&I and I've ticked all the boxes and I've got my lovely certificate, because your learning in this is never done.